This week, it's going to be about the Barclays Premier League season. Sorry, not Barclays anymore. It's just a habit.
The season has been lots of highs, lows, lots of drama, and just like the perfect Premier League season, I guess.
Manchester City won it again in dramatic fashion. It seems like they just do it to fuck with Manchester United fans.
You can tell by the way the City and Liverpool teams play that those 11 people on the field just seem to get along much better than any other 11 we've seen for a very long time now.
Arsenal being Arsenal, I don't know how do these guys always screw it up when it matters the most.
Well, but you can't bag a lot of things with Spurs, unfortunately enough, for them, not for anyone else. But where I really did enjoy was Everton was in the relegation zone. I'm like, what?
Like, the table never lies. That's something that I truly believe.
Next season's top 4 fight is going to have be even more interesting.
Thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Gui. It's been a torrid season for our clubs, but we keep going. Hey everyone, welcome back to an all new episode of All About Sports, the podcast, a sports podcast for the fans, by the fans. We're coming back with a new weekly episode. Last week we had discussed, football again, and it's going to be football again. But last week it was around the new format of the Champions League, which is going to be effective from 2024. And we discussed on how it is sort of a reason of the new creation was because of the breakaway European Super League, which ended up failing in 3 days. So you can just check out that episode and catch our first episode that explained what the Super League was. And this week, it's going to be about how the Premier League season, the Barclays Premier League season went about. Sorry, not Barclays anymore. It's just a habit. The English Premier League season, let's put it like that, went about. Manchester City won it again in dramatic fashion. It seems like they just do it to fuck with Manchester United fans. Also got Liverpool fans very excited and Stevie G seemed to slip in a different way this time. So Man City beat Aston Villa after being 2-0 down, scored 3 goals in 3 minutes. Ilkay Gundogan with 2 in that case, netting the winner in the end. Dramatic scenes for a neutral. Honestly, as United fans, we were pretty happy with that too. We didn't want Liverpool to win, obviously. We don't want them to win the quadruple. So that's out of the way. Thank God for that. We didn't want them to tie and make it 20 league titles as well. But there was drama on the other end of the table as well. Leeds also getting a crucial win. Again, Leeds, hate the fact that I have to sit and talk about three teams that I would definitely not like to talk about. But Leeds also getting a big win, surviving the Premier League with a negative 37 goal difference, which is my absolute madness. Burnley, unfortunately, having to go down because of that. They sacked Sean Dyche because of it, because of how Burnley were playing, and they still went down. So I don't know if that worked out well. I think that was also stupid on their part. But Shubham, I'm going to come to you first. Let's get this out of the way. What did you make of the season in general? And if you want to vent, this is your opportunity. Go for it.
Well, for me, the season I think came to an end in October and November when United were absolutely getting smashed right, left, and center. We lost, I think, on aggregate to Liverpool, 9-0, and I think pretty much a similar scoreline to Man City. We have seen Ole get sacked, Ralph come in, but he's also honestly not done much. We had this amazing fixture when Ralph came in of 10 games where we were supposed to win most of those games or get a lot of points because they were the bottom half of the table, clubs and so on and so forth. But the season has ended and we have just about managed to get 6th spot. That too after losing to Crystal Palace, thanks to I think Brighton, who defeated West Ham 2-1. So it's not even like we got 6th spot because we deserved it and we managed to win the final game. So from a United standpoint, it's been obviously like the most ridiculous season. I think I just read a quote by De Gea when he said that I can't wait to forget about this season. It's been a rubbish season. It's been a horrible season, and yeah, from a United perspective, it's been horrible. But in general speaking, I think obviously the dramatic end of the season was exciting. I loved the fact that from a neutral point of view, you see Aston Villa go 2-0 up, and then Man City to like Mazhar said, so to score 3 goals in like 3 or 4 minutes, whatever it was. That was unreal. I think 10 years back, Aguero scored that third goal and that got him a statue. You never know. Maybe a Gundogan statue is coming up at the Etihad. And honestly, I think from a Liverpool point of view, hats off to the team. That consistency that they've had for the last 4 or 5 seasons is unreal. Last season they slipped up because obviously they had some major injuries. But yeah, what a team, man. To get, I think, 92 points and still not win the league is just remarkable. But obviously they've had a fantastic season beyond the Premier League with the 2 cups that they've won, and now they're in the Champions League final. And then lastly, to talk about Arsenal, there was a point where obviously they were about to get the fourth spot, the spot that they've been eyeing for like what 5 years now. And then Arsenal being Arsenal, I don't know how do these guys always screw it up when it matters the most. And now Tottenham have got a fourth spot. And honestly, I think Tottenham kind of deserve it because Conte, we have to talk about Conte. He's done an amazing job to come in, I think, mid-season, turn things around, get Tottenham to finish fourth, last game of the season. So yeah, the season has been lots of highs, lows, lots of drama, and just like the perfect Premier League season, I guess.
Before I come to you, Gui, I just wanted to highlight Shubham was spot on. I don't know what's up with these two North London clubs. They just don't seem to want to finish fourth. Let's face it. Yes, Spurs deserved it in the end. They had a phenomenal end to the season. Of course, the defining game was them beating Arsenal in the end as well. Yeah, we can go on about how Arsenal threw it. But I mean, the fact that Arsenal ended up where they did also, at one point it looked pretty much impossible. Also, United shat the bed. West Ham had chances, and again, I kept saying that West Ham will taper at the end, and that's what happened. Leicester recovered too. So, Gui, firstly, your thoughts. No one's talking about this club, but firstly, your thoughts on Chelsea, because they ended up with 74 points. Third place was always secure, but still way off in terms of, obviously, Liverpool and City had extraordinary seasons. Let's face that. But do you think Chelsea underperformed in the end? Of course, ownership, all of that also played a factor. So first, your thoughts on Chelsea, and then you can speak about Arsenal season as well.
I think Chelsea were never going to be part of the top two way before anything around the ownership issue arose. Because I think maybe everyone just built very lofty expectations of Chelsea in the beginning, right? Oh, Lukaku! Oh my God, they have a very good 11, to be honest, but the 11 never seemed to gel well enough to muster up like 90 points, right? You can tell by the way the City and Liverpool teams play that they're just that those 11 people on the field just seem to get along much better than any other 11 we've seen for a very long time now. And that was the case with Chelsea as well. More individual talent as opposed to a unit on the field. And yeah, like I think I wrote them off quite early. It wasn't something which happened towards the end of the season where they just didn't perform towards the tail end. It happened like maybe early mid-season kind of thing is when it was already done for me personally. But yeah, the third place, they didn't let the third place come into question. Where maybe like at some point Arsenal fans are getting very carried away and okay, maybe we have a shot. And they were, let's be honest, like 4-5 points with 6 or 10 games in hand. It's possible, but I don't think anyone put too much stock into that chain of thought, because it didn't really matter whether you're third or fourth at that point. And coming to the North London clubs doing so well. But see, to be honest, I was hoping for a top 4 finish at the beginning of the season, I won't lie. But the way it began, it was just that ball rolled off very quick. But somehow to be part of the contest, which is of course not enough by any standard coming from a club which has done well in the current century, so to speak, millennia, century, whatever, and maybe the last 10 years of the previous. Uh, it's not enough, but again, like, you can only taper your expectations based on how the season started off. Even with the signings, which were average, not the best. One signing which was like a marquee signing, who also turned out to be as injury prone as any other Arsenal player always is. With that, didn't start off well, managed to be part of the contest, which was fair, but like Malu said, like, put a lot of stock into what contest done, but I don't think they were so bad. Like, Spurs weren't a bad side. Like, Nuno never got them running. That's the different thing, which is something on the coach, right? And Conte did, yes, he does what he does. Like, he's a serial winner, right? Like, always. First season, we're bagging something, well, but you can't bag a lot of things with Spurs, unfortunately enough, for them, not for anyone else. But yeah, I thought they would have it in the bag fairly early, like, but somehow Arsenal managed to be part of it. And again, I can't complain about the season because I had killed all hope. I am not complaining about Arsenal season, but where I really did enjoy was that there was like Everton was in the relegation zone. I'm like, what? Gone are the days of Leon Osborne and Leighton Baines and all of these people who are like pushing on for six, like somehow on their last legs, pushing for 6 spot, 7 spot, and all of. Now we're fighting on the other end of the table. It was quite dramatic. Like, by the way, the club fans celebrated that win. It was a win only when they avoided relegation. So I mean, that's a teller of the times, right? Like, you just said Leicester recovered from the second after the first time. We didn't mention Everton in that. We didn't even mention Everton anywhere, like, in the whole conversation, which has been like a flag. I mean, again, flagship mid-table team, right?
Yeah, Everton are the longest running club after Arsenal in the top flight of English football. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I didn't mention them, but also they are Everton. So I mean, again, no Scousers for me. Thank you. I'm good for now. But I like that you mentioned that. That just pretty much sums up how the season went about. The fact that Everton were languishing in relegation zone for the longest time. And I genuinely thought that they will go down at one point. It's just that Leeds also kept losing though. And it seemed like Leeds also couldn't find any result. Leeds were also not playing good football. Burnley also seemed like a team that could just never score a goal. So I think in the balance of things, how it like the table never lies. That's something that I truly believe. The Premier League table or any league table never lies, and that's the charm of all these league concepts in general. So yeah, I mean, fair enough. Everton ended up with 39 points with a goal difference of -23, and you have Richarlison, who's a pretty handy striker at the end of the day. So
£50 million striker.
I just look at that squad and it's really like, there's no way. I understand a lot of teams underperform this season, but you have England's number one goalkeeper. You have Mason Holgate, who I think is a very good player. You have Michael Keane, who's also got a shout, at one point had a shout for making the English team. You have Jerry Mina, who starts for Colombia. You have players, Ben Godfrey, Seamus Coleman, who starts for Ireland. These are
They
players.
also got Dele Alli. Then I think Van der Beek is also, but he was injured all the time. But yeah, they did get some decent players.
I mean, they had their players. They had El Ghazi. It's not like the players weren't there. Andros Townsend, he's always been a major pain in the ass for most teams. Fabian Delph, who was a City player for a long time. Obviously, the talent was there. They had Alan from Brazil as well. Calvert-Lewin, who is potentially also in competition for England starting striker alongside Harry
He
Kane.
played for England. What
These are internationals we're talking about, and that's just not performing. It was a shocker, and the fan celebration was, I mean, a different issue altogether. I get that it was a struggle of a season, so they have a right to celebrate, but coming onto the pitch and all was a bit excessive. We can discuss Patrick Vieira's incident for another day, for that Crystal Palace game as well. But now, guys, let's move on from the league table. I can't get myself to say anything more nice about the teams that ended up doing well. So let's just move on to the personal accolades now. Kevin De Bruyne wins player of the season ahead of Mo Salah. 23 goals and 12 assists, top of the list in goals, tied with Son, and the sole leader in assists, one ahead of his own teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold. How did Salah not win Premier League player of the season? Thoughts, guys?
Shocking.
So, I think both the awards are quite like sketch, if you ask me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that now. Phil Foden winning young player of the season. Again, Shubham, these were announced before it was confirmed that City will win the league. Both these awards were awarded yesterday, and the league was won the next day. Like the previous day, and the league was won the next day. How
But
did
when we talk about young players, who's Phil competing against?
Trent Alexander-Arnold is in the running, Bukayo Saka is in the running, Mason Mount is in the running. There are some top players who are in the running for for best young player. I think even potentially Reece James is in the running. I know, fine, Chelsea's season wasn't great, but Reece James as a defender having 9 assists for the season, pretty solid whenever he played. I think he put in a shift. According to me, there are more claims for that. Phil Foden, he had 9 goals, ended up with 9 goals or 10 goals. That's about it.
I've realized one thing when it
9
comes to
goals.
personal awards.
So is this a very simple question, right? Like when you're asking who he's competing with, there are 2 people on both the lists, like Premier League Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season, right? Trent and Saka both made both lists, and this guy didn't make the main list. So how nobody can explain it, but somehow he's one Young Player of the Season over both of them.
Yeah, that's exactly the same way in basketball. It's like, I remember there were these talks about when Giannis won MVP, and there were doubts over whether he'll win Defensive Player of the Year as well. But that makes sense because basketball is very much a two-way game. Here you're performing a role. You're not expected necessarily to do both things. You're not expected to be a pure defender as well if you are an attacker, especially if you're a winger, like in the case of Saka. Or Trent is fine. Trent, I still understand. He's supposed to put in a defensive shift. He tries, but he can't. Like, that's a different issue. But yeah.
One thing that Gui brought up that he wasn't in the list. I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Ronaldo also not there in the nominees for the player of the season list?
Shubham has to bring it up. Shubham has to bring it up.
Like, come on, let's be realistic now. This guy gets in 18 goals, and right now is quickly doing the math. United scored 57 goals. He scored 18 goals. That's 31.5% of the goals for one entire club in the league, and he doesn't even get in the list of nominees. Like, how does that even make sense?
I agree. Ronaldo should be on that list. He was phenomenal.
I totally understand he doesn't deserve to win the award.
Yeah.
But at least he should be there in the list, right? Like, how does that?
I mean, yeah, it's very strange. It's a very strange system altogether. Honestly, I think I've given up on all of these individual awards now ever since the Ballon d'Or fiascos. I think I've 100%. Just sort of given up. And again, Kevin De Bruyne winning again. And it's not like his season was stellar as it was last year. Last year, I can still understand he was really good, like doing a lot of things. This season, I feel like he was getting angry. He was getting frustrated, and he was inefficient at a lot of times in his performance, where he just kept taking shots from distance in the hopes of scoring because he was getting frustrated that he wasn't able to score or create. I don't know, man. It's very weird. But I wanted to just give some shout outs to people, and I want your opinions on it. I just saw these stats, so it pretty much stunned me. Harvey Barnes was injured for a lot of the season. ends up with 10 assists. Jared Bowen had a phenomenal season. People are talking about whether he should make it to the England squad or not, whether he will make it to the England squad or not. 10 assists as well, scored some crucial goals for West Ham, kept them in the running for that Champions League spot for the longest time. And Mason Mount, to be fair, just took a terrible penalty in the FA Cup final, but had a very good season for Chelsea as well. Ended up with 10 assists, was pretty much their most creative player, I would say. Your thoughts on these three guys? Gui?
Jared Bowen, definitely. I think his nomination for the player of the season is like, even if it's something like let's just have a West Ham player in also, yeah, but you have to, right? He scored so many times and he's done it against all the good sides also. It's not like, I mean, maybe there was a vanishing act in the middle, but towards the end of the season he was back up and scoring. And for a team like West Ham, maybe if that small brief period where he wasn't doing so well wouldn't have come, maybe West Ham would have made it to the top six, which is fair, like, because they had a good shout, they had a very good season, if you ask me, by their standards, or by any, like, maybe they outperformed, because I don't think they had like the best individual talents. They had some very good individual talents, but yes, they did come together as a unit, which, well, what, tussled for the top six spot for a very long time. And at some point they were top four. They were top four for a very long time. Like, I courtesy the way Arsenal season was going about, I didn't really want to follow it much. but yeah, West Ham were really high up in the beginning, and they didn't trail off very quickly. They trailed off towards the end, and I think Jared Bowen was a big part of keeping them high up on the table. So that nomination is very, very valid, if you ask me.
And honestly, Mason Mount double digits in both goals and assists. 10 goals, 11 assists. I think credit where it's due. Also, I thought West Ham were a solid team at home. They were quite tough to beat. They were the only team that managed to take points off both Liverpool and City in the end. So I think that's also something that everyone needs to pay attention to. David Moyes has done a fantastic job with them, and I mean, for the sake of the history of West Ham as well, I hope they keep doing well, because it just adds another element to the league, given Everton had a shit show. So I think that's good.
I just wanted to mention, like you mentioned Javi Barnes also, and like Javi Barnes is like the very representation of what Mahrez was in their title winning season, right? Like, bombing down one wing. Like, if there was a player which I see now who would have fit very, very easily into Leicester's title winning side, it is Javi Barnes, without a doubt in my mind, because Leicester's season trailed off very early, right? But in spite of that, this guy's numbers, because he did so well in the beginning of the season, just fabulous. And well and truly, like, when I watch him play, or when I watched him play in in the beginning, I was like, maybe he's going to get a move to a bigger side, subs of the bigger side. But yes, like, or maybe just like play starting 11 in a side like Leicester, which really needs him.
Shubham, coming to you now. Let's close this. United. What are your expectations from next season for United? And yeah, I think just take it away, and then we can call this an end.
I just feel like, obviously, the way the season has ended, a lot of changes have happened internally at the club. We have Eric Ten Hag appointed as the new manager. A lot of players are leaving the club. Also in the management, a lot of new changes. Full new coaching staff is coming in. There are changes in terms of even at the CEO level. I think Woodward is now finally, he's got nothing to do with the club. So a lot of changes are happening. So I just think next season, I would just say, I'm not going to be too excited about next season. Let's see how the summer transfer window goes. Let's see what the signings are, because like, what to expect when you don't really know what's happening, because literally you can get up to new news every single day at United, because there's so much change that is expected to happen. But yeah, like Eric Ten Hag, he just won the Dutch title, and I think he's won it 3 times in a row. He would have also won the one when the season got cancelled due to COVID, because like whatever, Ajax were number one. So still 3 titles on the trot. He has performed very well in Champions League as well. So yeah, there are expectations of him. Hopefully he can get the squad to actually play decent football, considering the fact that we do still have some quality players. But in terms of expectation, a top 4 finish next season would be, I think, what we can expect, or what we should at least hope for. And yeah, in terms of the Europa League, now that we're in the Europa League, compete till the latter stages. League Cup and FA Cup also compete till the latter stages. I don't know if we are capable of winning any trophy next season, but yeah, at least if we get into the top 4, yeah, I think that would be remarkable. And I think even better than that would be if we truly see some massive changes in the club, in the structure, in the decision-making process. If Eric Ten Hag is actually given the power to make decisions, and there's not too much involvement of people who don't know much about football and only think from a commercial standpoint. So yeah, let's see.
And Gui, where do you think Arsenal will finish? And who do you think? Do you think it'll be just Liverpool and City again, or do you think Chelsea will end up challenging with some sort of? I don't know if Lukaku comes good.
Chelsea challenging will be really down to if they can come together as a team. I don't know what more squad upgrades do you want. Like you can't ask for more with respect to like individual talent, but yeah, maybe like investing in how they can actually go about. Maybe having an ideology is also something, like a way of playing football which is unique to them is something which somehow I feel is slightly missing, because they seem to be doing all the basics right, but nothing which they do so well, which will put them on the same pedestal as Liverpool and City are on right now. That's what I think about them. But I think next season's top 4 fight is going to have be even more interesting, because I think the ones who competed for top 4 this time, like the 4th spot more than top 4, they're going to come with even more guns blazing, because Conte is going to have his first full season. Arteta has, I think, cleared almost all the deadwood from the squad, right? Barring like one who was also slated to leave for sure almost. And United, I think they made the necessary squad upgrades last season. Now it's more of, as how Malu mentioned, the coaching staff, backroom staff, and the decision-making process at the club. So maybe an even more interesting fight for the top 4 than it was this season.
I'll just say that I still think United need that central defensive midfielder, whoever it is. Ruben Neves would be a fantastic signing, because I think that's a realistic one as well, because they can easily source him out from Wolves. It's one of the easier targets. He understands the Prem. Everything seems to work. So thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Gui. Valuable insights. It's been a torrid season for our clubs, but we keep going. And thank you all for tuning in. To like, share, subscribe, check out our episodes, let us know your thoughts on it. And Shubham had mentioned, if anyone's done their research from the last episode on Cristiano Ronaldo's impact on Manchester United, then please do hit us up and we'll bring you onto the podcast as well. Till then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, make sure to leave a like and share it with anyone else who might be interested. You can also subscribe on any social media platform that you prefer, and all our links are in the bio. We also have a website with all our episodes as well as blogs and a whole lot of other sports content, so make sure to check that out as well.